Hello and welcome to another match preview here on my channel, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jack from the Final Whistle. Always great to speak to you, Jack, and we were just speaking then before I hit record. There's so much to discuss when talking about Leicester, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to discuss regarding Leicester, more bad than good, to be honest.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll start off with the reverse fixture, which is a fixture that you won 2-0. It was a performance that I felt was a signal at the time of, oh, okay, this is a newly relegated team that have kept hold of some decent players. You know, you guys are going to be right up there in the season. But what's transpired since is something that has shocked me and perhaps shocks you too.
Uh, yeah, it's been an awful season, hasn't it? Against Birmingham was probably one of our best performances of the season. We're a side this season where clean sheets don't seem to be a thing for Leicester. 24 consecutive in the league now without a clean sheet, which shows how poor we are defensively, and we are leaking a lot of goals. We're a side who are very much there for the taking. We're too easy to play against, too predictable. We had Marty Cifuentes in who talked about a philosophy to dominate teams, to play possession football, and to get results. And we don't look like a side who can get anything out of games, to be honest. When we do seem to go one behind, there's a sort of a way of we're in free fall when we concede first, but then when we can sort of score first, there's always a thing in the back of your mind that are we actually going to go and keep the lead, and probably not. And then I'd just say we're in free fall, to be honest. Yes, we've had four new players come in. Jamal Lascelles, who's very much a leader, which we've been very much missing. We haven't got a leader in the Leicester team to lead this team, and Abdul Fattah, a main player for us this season. He's been very inconsistent, more than consistency this morning. I think he's been more of a moments player, but then Jordan James, I think, has been phenomenal for us this year. He really carried the team. He's been a player that's stepped up when others haven't. But I think we're just a moments team this season. We're very much individuals, and we are in a sorry state of affairs on and off the pitch.
Because I remember at the start of the season when I went on your channel, we done a pre-season's prediction video for the championship, and it's one
Yeah.
that where I feel like some of the takes that I've had have aged pretty badly. There are some that I won't mention now, but you have to check out his video to laugh at me after that. But I suppose with your predictions, I remember you saying about Leicester that you're really confident about them and put them in second place, and I feel like with what's transpired this season. There's good players there, and as you said about Fatawu bringing moments, and Jordan James, obviously Blues fans know what he's about. But I
Mm.
suppose the main thing, would you say it's been the management of Cifuentes and just the wrong appointment at the wrong time, or does it go deeper than that?
It goes well deeper than that. Bad decisions off the pitch with the board and that, and the decisions they've made. We've got players who are out of contract who are not given enough in the team. There's a lot to connect with Leicester. To be honest, we've got players who just are not up for the fight for whatever reason, and you then look at the manager. The manager are well out of his depth at Leicester. We've had what three different managers now in the last year and a half. Steve Cooper, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Marty Cifuentes, and nothing's worked. Nothing's worked. These players have got to take a big criticism on it because they haven't been good enough. Yes, people say yeah, but there's quality in that Leicester team, but there's a difference between quality and actually playing well and working hard and earning the points, and we're not doing none of that. So it's just a situation where we don't look good defensively. We play with 10 men every game because we haven't got a striker. And like I say, it's just a team who's not giving enough. The fans want to see commitment, fight, and determination, and the players are just not doing that. And the fans obviously make their feelings known, don't they? They're booing, criticise. So I don't think there's really any positives we could take out of this season. To be fair, so far, I think we deserve to be where we are. The table doesn't lie, and we then take on Birmingham next, who are very good at home. So yeah, I wonder how that one's going to go. I could be watching that through my fingers, to be fair.
I don't know. You never really know with Blues, but with Leicester, like it was an eventful January, as you alluded to. That there was like four
Mm.
January signings, like final day, and also you had the departure of Wout Faes, who went on loan to Monaco, I believe, and
Thank
also
God. Yeah.
and also Sumari, who you were completely slating before the reverse
Oh,
fixture, and then he went on and got man of the match. So
uh, do you know what? Fast and Samare. just we needed to get rid of him. Samora is one of the highest earners at the club, 80 grand a week. He needed to go. He's not been good enough over 4.5 years. We seen one good game against Manchester City in the Community Shield when he first came in. We're thinking, bloody hell, we've got bloody prime Patrick Vieira. And then since then, never did anything. Too lazy, too predictable, not running the R's, just not working hard. I know he played well against Birmingham when you guys last played us. Wild fast. Man's thought he were bloody Franz Beckenbauer. He thinks he's better than what he is, to be honest. His attitude stunk, and he rightfully deserved to be dropped. And he clearly didn't want to be at the football club. The Belgian national team manager said, "Well, I think you need to go to a bigger club if you're going to get into the international stage of the Belgian team again." And there we go. He's left for Monaco. I'd say good riddance, to be honest. I think every other Leicester fan would say the same. But then we look at the January transfer window. We left it late for deadline day. We brought in Joe Aribo. Doesn't really bring inspiring that type of signing. I know Southampton fans talk negatively about him, about he's lazy, he's this, is that, but you can only judge a player when he plays for your team, and you can only judge it with your own eyes. So you just got to give these players a chance. Makata from Manchester City, great talent in the England setup, and Pep Guardiola speaks very highly of him. And if Pep Guardiola speaks highly of any player, you know they're good for the money. He's coming on loan. We've got Dujan Richards from Chelsea, who 20-year-old striker. We've been desperately needing a striker. We definitely need a goal scorer, and he says he can bring goals to this team. So I think we've made some good young signings who are hungry. They're committed to the cause, and then we bring in a leader of Jamal Lascelles, his caliber, 12 years at Newcastle, from Championship to Champions League player, and he's one of them who's a no nonsense defender. He'll run through brick walls for you, and that's what I'm hoping he'll bring, that leadership, that stability, someone who's going to fight for this team and hopefully, fingers crossed, keep us in the league, because I think that's the aim for us this season now.
Do you think there'll be any of the new signings that go straight into the team for the Birmingham game because you've got Lascelles with that leadership, as you said, and then you've got Mikasa and Richards that bring something a bit new, and I believe that Leicester at the moment have got a bit of an injury crisis in midfield.
Yeah, we've got an injury crisis with Jordan James out, which is a massive hole to fill in it. Harry Winks obviously came back into the team against Charlton. Mixed reception for him with the way he's been behaving, and I'd say Lascelles would be the one that would come back in because Caleb Okoli got a red card against Charlton, so he'll be missing. So I'd stick Lascelles and Nelson at the back, personally, as centre backs. I'd play Ricardo at left back. I don't rate Luke Thomas. I don't rate Christensen. I don't think they're good enough and should be nowhere near the team. But I'd say Body Aluko at right back. The two CDMs, I think Oliver Skip will come back in with, maybe he'll go with Louis Page, or Joe Aribo will actually start. Then we look at the front four. Jordan Ayew's a bench player. He's not a striker. I'd replace him with Richards. I'd give Richards his debut at the weekend. Macassar or Bobby Reed. I think maybe he'll go towards more with Bobby Reed, but I think Macassar will maybe start on the bench at the weekend, and then you've got the wingers, and I think he'll only go with Fatawa and Mavididi.
And what are your current aims now between now and the rest of the season? Because obviously you've got this looming thing of the points deduction. You know, what is that going to happen this season? How much is it going to be? And I suppose where does your focus lie? Because it's difficult to know what you're aiming for when you've got this points deduction looming over you.
I'd say the focus isn't playoffs. As it stands, we're like 9 points off, but then you've still got to look into the perspective of the points deduction scenario and how many points we're going to get. Could it be nine? Could it be 12? We don't know. Could it be this season? Could it be next season? I think if we get it this season, between 9 and 12 points, we're in a relegation battle, aren't we? It's the moral of, we need to stay up. I think that's the only objective for us this season now, to stay in the league, fight for safety. And at the start of the season, if someone said to me, "Oh, well, you're going to be in a relegation battle this season," and you'd have sort of thought, "No, you're talking silly here," but this is the reality of football. You deserve to be where you are because of how bad things have got, and this is where we are now as a football club. We're looking downwards rather than upwards. So I'm just hoping the new January signings can bring a little bit of spark to the team, a little more positivity. I'm hoping the Lascelles signing gives them a kick up the arse to say, you know what, boys, you've done what you've done this season. we've got to push on here. We can't afford to keep doing what you've doing in the last few games because we've lost to Charlton and Oxford, who some would have said at the start of the season would have been relegation contenders. So we're in a real pickle here. When I said we'd finish in the top six this season, I sort of thinking, okay, then maybe it was a reality at the start, but then how things have gone over the how it's transpired, we just basically fell off a cliff, haven't we? And no one's expected it.
And you said earlier about, it's been a build-up of things and it runs deeper than who the manager is. What exactly
Mm,
has gone wrong over the years for Leicester? Because I've seen online, obviously, a lot of criticism has been aimed towards John Rudkin, the director of football. So is it a
yeah,
thing with those people, or is it even like higher than that, the ownership?
I think to be honest, it's been negligence from the top. To be honest, he basically now wants to restructure the club and bringing in a new technical director, a CEO, and stuff like that. But you wouldn't have to make them changes if you made the right choices, and actually ran the club the way it should have been run and not been left and just swept under the carpet. I just think we've been neglected these last couple of years, if I'm honest. The director of football's handed out these massive contracts and massive wages to these players who should be nowhere near them types of wages. We've lost our way as a football club, and it's our own doing in doing these type of things. We've had many internal reviews of the last couple of seasons where we see what's gone right and what hasn't. So, and then the same people who are doing internal reviews are the people who are the problem. So you're not going to call your own work out. So you're going to think, you know what, I'll just carry on here. No one's going to fizzle a finger to what I'm doing. So there's been a lot of things. I think there's been a lot of incompetence, a lot of mismanagement, and they're rightfully to be called out at the end of the day. But then the players haven't helped themselves either. We've not got a manager now, so we're having to in search of a new manager. And then the atmosphere at the football club. There's fans who don't want to go to games because of how depressing it's been, and I think they've maybe fell out of love with football a bit because of the sorry state of affairs that's happening at Leicester City. It just feels like we're in a real mess, but how worse can it get before it gets better is the big question here. I'd say so.
I feel like Birmingham, obviously, prior to Knighthead, had those years of just meandering and just staying above water and things like that. So I feel like with Leicester, I can sympathise with you guys. And obviously, from the Premier League days where you had the FA Cup victory and you had the Premier League victory and the King
Mm.
Power, and what a place that was to watch games of football and watch it over TV as well. So are you hoping that things can hopefully transpire to then fall back into place? Because what will happen with Birmingham is we have the new ownership come in, then the relegation, and then we started to build back up again. So is this a thing where you're thinking that things may be sorted in a few years, or could it be just as simple as get the points deduction out the way this season and go again next season?
I think we need a massive rebuild in the summer. That's what I'd say. But then you trust in the same people who have been the problem. So these same people shouldn't be at the football club. They should be sacked for all I care. They've made them scenarios, and this is why we're in the basin of the shit that we are. My French, but we need to get rid of these high earners off the books. Like I said, there's about six players now who are out of contract in the summer, and they're not going to go anywhere, really, if they're sitting on 80, 90 grand a week. Who's going to want to pay that type of money? You'd expect bloody someone of Xavi's caliber for bloody that type of wages, but we definitely ain't got them type of midfielders for that price. Harry Winks don't even come close to bloody Xavi's style of football. So that's the thing. I just think we've got to have a clean slate at the end of the season. We've got PSR's a massive problem with Leicester City at the minute. We've got ourselves that deep that we have to comply time and time again now. We have to go and sell our best players to get the money. And I think the only real asset at Leicester City, you'd say at the minute, is Abdul Fatawu, who did have interest from Sunderland in January, but then that never come off it in the end. But then in the summer, you're going to think to yourself, well, someone is going to take Abdul, aren't they? Because he's a good player when he's on his day. So we'll have to see what happens. Do I trust the same people who have made these issues? I don't. I physically don't. But the owner's obviously keeping these people on. So that's down to him to make them choices and not me, I'm afraid.
So with all this being said, Jack, what are your predictions for the game on Saturday?
It could be a long afternoon. Like I said, I could be watching this through my fingers. But I'm always one of them who never like to go against my team. And do you know what? I'm going to sit on the fence. I'll sit on the fence and say a 1-1 draw.
Okay, 1-1 draw. Because for the Oxford game, the last game that we had, I
Yeah,
predicted
I'll
us
sit
to
on the
draw.
fence. Yeah,
I predicted us to draw it 2-2 against Oxford, and I got a bit of stick in the comments because people were saying, okay, we're on a good run, we're playing a team in the relegation zone, surely we're going to beat them, and we did. But then I
yeah,
feel like now for this game, I am just naturally more confident about it because it's at home, and we've been so strong at home for the last 2 seasons. And
yeah,
what you say there about Leicester, you guys must not be confident. And as you said earlier about watching the game through your fingers, the fans aren't confident as well. So I'm hoping that the new signings can make an impact and we can sort of learn from our mistakes from the last game as well that you played against you guys. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 victory for Birmingham. I feel like with the signings that we've made, they may come into the starting 11. So Vincente, who we signed permanent from Alaves, may come in on the wing, and also John Solis may keep his place in the
mm,
midfield. So we've got new signings that we're looking to integrate now, and we're on a bit of an unbeaten run as well. So I'm hoping we can keep it going and get the wins at home, and then hopefully start to improve the form gradually away from home and go from there really. But from what you know about your promotion season, Jack, with Maresca, what did Leicester get right that season to be able to get to the Premier League the way that they did?
I think it was just about how we started. We were consistent the first half of the season because we picked up most of the points in the first half of the season. The trajectory were good for us, but then we sort of had that little patch, didn't we, where we'd lost to like Millwall and Plymouth and that, and we were losing to teams we really needed to beat, to be honest. And then we sort of just got over the line by the skin of our teeth, to be fair. But I would say to go and win the title in the championship, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be on your game every game. You can't afford the mistakes. Your players have got to be up for it. You've got to have that fight, determination, and commitment. I think Enzo got it right. The football wasn't pretty, but he come in, did the job, and got us back to where we needed to. But then you'd always say that we're a team like what Leicester had that season, where we had very good players, and a manager who got the best out of them players again after getting relegated. And the championship's tricky, of course it is, but it's about consistency, and I think that's the main key, that how we ended up winning the league in the end. And like I say, we just managed to get over the line at Preston away, and then obviously went on the piss, didn't we, after that game, and then lost to Blackburn final day. So as long as you're not bloody losing to Blackburn on the final day of the season, I think you'll be fine.
Which played a part in us getting relegated, by the way, and I don't forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we can only apologise. We can only apologise for that. We didn't mean to get you relegated. It's just the players had a bit too much to drink, and I think they enjoyed the party rather than the football. So there we go.
Well, it did work out for us in the end long term, so I guess we have that to thank
It
for Jack.
did. So you can only thank us. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the channel, Jack. A great chat as always. Where can we find you and what you're up to at the moment on your like socials and YouTube and whatnot?
You can find me at the Final Whistle, Leicester City content creator. We do match previews, match reviews. We've just done some deadline videos and that on the January transfer window signings. We do match day vlogs as well. So if you ever see us at a game and I'm at your stadium, just come and say hello. Come and chat to me about football. I'm a footballing loving man, like Sam and every other person. So there we go. Yeah, catch it at the Final Whistle. Go and subscribe, and also go and follow us on the Instagram, the TikTok, and all the other socials.
Thanks so much for your time, Jack, and thank you everybody for
Appreciate
being
it.
able to watch this video and support me as I continue this journey doing every match preview for now till the end of the season. So if you like this video, be sure to share it and subscribe and keep right up.